When was the last time I actually spoke to you guys?
Relax.
Huh?
No, last week.
Okay, last week I was here. I was here last week.
I don't think it's the trip.
On the trip? All right, okay. All right, okay. So updated you guys on the trip. So the only other major update then is that there are two updates from there. One is that April 14th, I've been told the budget is being brought down in Jamaica. Is that correct? April 14th? Then we publish the budget, Jamaica budget, and at that time we'll know what our budget is when they actually have done that. Our budget at SUJ, and then we'll know what your allocation is after that. And so the second thing is that Titan actually did. We're continuing through the process of so he's actually was issued a contract, and now we're actually negotiating the contract. No, so it was approved. Then it takes them time to actually write the contract. Then the contract was issued to him, and then now he has disagreements on what the contract says, and so we're in that process of going back and forth now, like any contract underneath that. But in the meantime, he is, as you know, doing gratuity for free. Continue to move along the process with all you guys and what you guys are actually doing. Very important that you actually follow through with what he's actually saying and continuing. And up to date, I think there are going to be only 5 teams that he will work with. Because unless you guys actually fill up the forms, he will not work with you. And that's just because he wants to make sure you guys are interested and willing to do the work. The other comment generally was that many of the teams are part-time, that they don't actually, what he can actually do in 1 hour, most of the teams are doing in 1 week. And I think he was talking about 1 hour of discussion, not actual work, in terms of advancing from one stage to the other. Because over the next little while, we will be accelerating a lot of things. So once he's now almost finishes, once he finishes the assessment, then Kyle and I will get together, and I'll also do the business assessment side of it, and we'll combine those two and see what's realistic. See whether or not some of the teams can actually finish in the 6 months. If we extend, and we are supposed to be extending time within the 6 months, your program, if it's realistic or not. There are many of you guys out there, some of them are not realistic in time frame. You basically said you guys will not finish in that time frame, what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so individual will get that feedback to you, and then what we'll do, we'll have a list of all the services you'll need to be able to reach certain milestones, and then we go through the procurement process for getting all those services. And you know that takes time. So think about that 2 months from now and actually getting that. So those are my basic announcements. But we're actually now finally moving through with actually putting together with the program of what it's going through. And I'm not quite sure. I think we're waiting for the budget. We're also waiting for my business plan to be finished this week to be submitted to the government and for them to go ahead with WIRA. See whether or not they will actually go ahead with that. So spoke to those guys at WIRA, and they actually emailed me back. They're on top of things. Said, we haven't heard back to you. It's been a whole week. No, the business plan is an overall business plan. I probably can share with you guys. When it's done, I'll share it with you guys. I don't think there's nothing confidential in the business plan of what we're actually doing. I'll share it, and then I'll get tech for sharing it, because it probably is government property. But until I actually submit it, I probably can do that to ask feedback from you guys. To actually get some feedback and input into what we're doing and where we're actually going with it, right? I probably can do that. So that's what I'll do. Before I send it in, I'll ask for feedback. And then I can't get into trouble on that. I know once I send it, it'll be like, that's government property. Freedom of information is not here under that. All right? We're supposed to have, so the other thing that will be coming in is that updates will be required, and we'll figure out something actually to do. We've had 2 people who did updates Congratulations again to our perennial only updater, Michael, constantly. And second, not leaving it out, Narda did send one also. Okay, so those are done. And I'm hearing that the rest of you guys will be following Toot Sweet for next week, coming up together. But now it's going to be a little bit easier because now we actually will be having an update on Slack with Titan. So he will actually be forcing you guys to make updates on the technical side of things and what's actually happening. I was actually learning how to do that. I was actually learning Slack also going to. That's basically it. We have David who is supposed to be over there as soon as he's finished that presentation. He's supposed to be there. All right. Who's going to talk to us about what is actually in there? Anyone has any updates, announcements, things they want to talk about? No one?
Oh, yeah.
Everything is happening. It's great. All right. All right. We're gonna make the country. We're gonna make America great. All right. You've been watching Donald Trump a lot. We mastered it now. What is it? We're gonna make America great. Sorry? I actually have to go there. All right, we'll do chair as a speaking chair. Speaking chair. Sideways.
Okay. This will be now down to the hot seat.
Right. So shots aren't moving.
Right. So we've been talking sometimes. We're also preparing for Ignite. We had gotten through the next round of pitching. Those guys over there are the enemy. Don't talk to them. Yeah. So we're keeping fingers crossed. For startup, we're working on current sales. We got some good support from our Kingston beta audience, who's following up with sales of our business registration and annual returns product. We have some new sales strategies that we're going to be implementing next week. So really drive those sales. BBJ is asking for applications for business development organizations, and there's no reason why startup robots should not be the default business development organization for startups. And if we're successful with this, then we'll be able to offer business planning. We'll be able to offer business planning and help with loan financing to vouchers. It will be revenue for us, but it will also be opportunities for you guys to be able to access the type of capacity development that we were able to benefit from when we engaged the need that our user experience. So keep fingers crossed. That will be exciting for all of us if we can do that. So April 15th, we'll be sending in our application and we'll be lobbying to get approved for that stuff. That's pretty much our update.
Fantastic. That just reminded me, there is an ad up for UX that's on the website on the career section. If you know anyone who wants to apply as a UX person, we're looking for a UX individual. I think applications close April 17th. Chocolates are right over there underneath that. Any other updates? That's the hot seat. You can't leave that.
You can't sit there.
You can't sit there. You have to get another chair.
Unless he's giving an update.
Oh, you get an update. That's
No,
good.
you're already there. Just stay. Just
Of course, you get more than a chocolate, but you have to.
the chocolate's so good. There's no more.
So my name is David Bain. The company I work with is Altaru. I am the founding partner. I've largely been characterizing us as a 10-year-old startup, since a startup is looking for a business model. That secretly means that we are a consulting firm, so we do things for people, like build their products.
One of the many teams that are actually actually working as a startup as a side job.
Right. So there are 3 guys in there right now because we actually need to deliver something for our customer. Then we realized that we already had something and our customer was already paying, and we could actually use it as a startup thing. So that's what we've decided we're going to do, and that is a digital exam platform, which basically allows you to do multiple choice exams, long answer exams, upload files for submission. So it could even be used for submitting assignments and things like that. And yes, there are platforms like that exist already. So our selling point is trust. We're the most secure platform. If you are a very paranoid type customer, you want to work with us. You don't want to be using something else because you're paranoid, basically. And so we already have one paranoid customer, that's CXC. And we actually got paid.
Did they? I was going to say if they closed and paid.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, we
they
actually
did.
got paid. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, that is good news.
Yeah.
So you
I'll actually buy a patty today.
You can buy
So
well, your wife will actually be happy about that. You actually don't have money. You don't have to worry as much about baby.
right, so we can buy diapers and stuff. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You can now buy one diaper instead of actually have to recycle. Just getting messy.
Right. Well, plus diapers, though, but that's a kind of So yeah, we got paid, and we are on an arrangement where they pay annually for the service. So that's actually pretty good.
So they paid them in advance, right?
They have paid in advance.
So this is they
most
literally,
of
so
it. Not
so
all of it.
So they have basically by paying in advance, they've actually really contracted your services.
Yeah.
Finally.
So they're actually funding our startup effectively.
Fantastic.
Because our next job is to, now that we've decided that this is our startup thing.
Getting paid gets very influential. The fun of actually getting paid.
The what?
The fun of getting paid.
Right, and having to still deliver. So now our job now is to figure out where else in the world is this needed, where else in the world is there. Obviously, they're competing solutions. So why did CXC choose us if they're competing solutions? Is it that we're too cheap? And now that we have an established customer, how do we ensure that we're not too cheap for the next 10 customers? One strategy we're using is CXC gets to pay a flat rate annually, but nobody else does. Everybody else is transactional. So it means that every exam that we deliver for, the West African Board of Examiners will be per exam or per student or whatever. And we'll give them a nice price for the first. It looks small when you're doing one exam, but but it's still economical compared to paper. And much more efficient. By the way, I discovered that the West African board or whatever they're called, I don't think they've released 2015 results for some students yet, which is interesting.
Just underneath that. One of the things, though, what did you work with? Was the payback when you finished? Was the payback for your CS?
When you say payback,
For your investment in you, how long would it take them to get back the money?
for them to get back the money,
Yeah, to return on
for them to
investment.
get back the money, they need to deliver more exams digitally. Right now, they're making a loss.
So they will.
On what? Because they're only delivering one exam this year digitally.
Okay.
But they've started to pilot other exams this year. So for them to break even, they are going to have to start throwing their weight behind more and more digital exams. But it will be great for them because right now for paper exams, they get them printed in England securely and then get it shipped to all the different locations where they deliver exams. And because it's islands, it has to ship the correct ones to Trinidad, the correct ones to Barbados, to Jamaica, and all the centers in Jamaica. So, I mean, just the cost of shipping, cost of paper, it's still cheaper once they move over. So,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. Anyone else to update? Michael,
Yeah.
you had an update. I know you've updated me, but yeah.
Oh, I can
Steven.
get up to this, right?
Yeah.
I can get my chocolate, right?
Yeah. Can go for it. And you can bring some for your team.
Alright, so quick update. We've been hiding out of the office for a little while.
So we noticed.
Yeah, because what happened is that we have been taking too long to ship the product. Mainly because we have been doing a lot of consultancy jobs, which
Not a part-time startup.
right, which happens to be in line with the product, so that's good. But we know that we need a scale of the product. So we are further along. We have a working product. The first customer on board, our client on board, should be Nestle running a campaign for. So just an overview, the product allows brands and small businesses to set up their loyalty platform and run digital campaigns, contests from a library. So like Nestle, they approached us to do a project, and we realized that it was right in line with what the product should be executing. So we went back to them and said, all right, let us not do this one-off project. The project was estimated to be 250,000. So we said, let's not do this project as a single project, but instead be early users for the platform, and we'll work with you on a monthly basis. So the price, we have a monthly subscription of 250 US, and we plan to do that with multiple brands. So they like the idea, of course. I guess it costs them less upfront, and
250 a month, but you were at 250,000 Jamaican, which is approximately $2,000.
right, but they would own the content.
Okay.
Right, and that's what that wouldn't really make much economic sense for us, because then we can sell the same library of content to 100 brands.
And how often would they have come back with a $250,000 job?
Exactly. With a subscription, they would subscribe for 6 months minimum. And
So they basically have 6 months, and therefore you're actually trying to book on that, even though it is probably cheap for them.
right. It is cheap for them.
It is a no-brainer compared to the amount of work you're doing. We work on pricing.
Right.
And by the way, guys, this is the focus, and they have actually pivoted the focus back on this thing, which is where we had spoken about that this might have had opportunity for you. So,
Right.
So Stephen has actually pivoted. I think we two or 3 weeks ago we spoke about that. Where after going through the course,
Right.
decided that to drop the other one and actually focus on the thing that is actually making money. This is very similar to where did our chocolate guy, munchy guy go? David B. And that decided to focus on actually what was working and selling it in the marketplace rather than to create that new highfalutin product that they weren't sure that we're actually doing here. So this was something that you were selling, but then now decided that to expand and create a platform for selling this on a not only in Jamaica, but probably on a global basis to be able to push out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I note on that we were focusing mainly on loyalty, but the realization was there that loyalty is important for businesses, but no small business has ever approached us to say, hey, this is so much of a problem for me that I'm willing to take out some money and pay you to solve it up front. But brands keep having this problem and keep coming back to us for solutions. So let's focus on that first, then we can facilitate the loyalty after. So yeah, so that's that regarding the product. They should start the campaign by the end of April, and so that should be a working product, getting some feedback. But we're not waiting on the campaign to start. We actually plan to start our in-house campaign to promote the product and eat our own dog food per se. If we think that this is a strong promotional platform, we should be using it to promote the platform as well. So that's that regarding the product. Regarding finances, we were shortlisted for the JBD for the grant from JBDC. So we did the pitch to DBJ last week, Thursday.
Okay, how did that go? That's
It's let's say it went well. So I guess we're waiting on the answer now. But regarding the counterpart funding, we're talking with different investors to see if to see the best fit per se, to see how we can find a counterpart funding. Because the total project cost is around 10 million to scale to where we want it to go, and the grant covers up to 4 million. So we're looking for the other 6 million.
Did you sign up for Kite? I don't think you are on this list of signing up of things you have to do.
Kiting.
Yes.
Well, I got a message from him and signed up form.
So you sign up on all the forms. Have you had a session with him?
No.
All right. So you need to follow up with Kite and make sure you get the session for a proper assessment and
Right.
to look at your overall program and what you're actually doing.
Right.
So you'll find. I think some of the people I don't know I know Michael and I know Winston has been using Kite, and I know Kyle has spoken to Kite also a little bit under there. But you'll find that they have had, my understanding, some very good feedback
Right.
in what he's actually doing, and we're actually wants to approach. So he's a very serious hombre in actually getting you to where you want to go.
Okay.
Right? So you really should take advantage of. Because that assessment is going to be important for us to actually then put together the business assessment of where you're at, to
Right.
come up with an overall plan of where you should be in 6 months' time,
Okay.
and how we can actually help you to get there.
All right.
All right, because I think it's very critical to help you guys on the technical side to get you probably the fastest, most efficient way to get to where you want to go.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
All right.
We spoke with us on some technical issues, so I guess that would be necessity as well.
Yeah, and I
We
think
need some help here.
to be able to do both of them under there, but I'm not highly recommended. What will happen is if you don't sign up with Titan on the assessment, you can always drop out later, but if you don't get that initial assessment, you really can't move forward and start to make a program as we're going forward. Right?
Understood.
So it's important for us to get done. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone
All right.
else?
My own chair is hot, so. You have your own hot.
Yeah, so on two things. We started Jamaica Game Dev project and my startup project. So as it relates to the startup Jamaica Game Dev project or game, Misadventure Japan, what we're working on right now is finalization of the character concepts. And after that, we're going to start 3D modeling them and prototyping the game. So
How many people are now working on that project, by the way?
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 persons actively working on it. Seven
People who are actively working on this game. So you want to tell David a little bit about the game itself and what we've
All right, so Misadventure Japan follows the story of an AI robot named Pan, which is built by a South African-born billionaire named Mark. All right.
Silly name.
No, I'm kidding. All right, so Mark made Pan when he was in college, and he accidentally spilled coffee in Pan, so Pan's kind of defective. So one day Pan is at home and Mark says to Pan, look, Pan, I'm going to be leaving the house. I need you to watch the house while I'm gone. And then because PAN's defective, 20 plus minutes after Mark leaves the house, PAN triggers the security system in the house. And because Mark has some really confidential information in the house, what's going to happen is that the house is going to detonate in X amount of time unless PAN finds the security room and turns off the security system. So PAN is in a hurry to find security room, and it's in a huge mansion, to find security room and turn the security system, but the house explodes. That's story in a nutshell, synopsis. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so at stage of character concept and finalization of the concept of the character.
So
And on my starter now, which is Diamango. So the starter focuses on creating game development tools to help game developers plan, create, collaborate, and disseminate. Collaboration aspect is a question right now. It's a little bit due to the fact that Unity Technologies, the creators of the Unity engine, actually released their own collaborative tool, which is kind of impacting the value proposition of our Diamond tools. But things have been going so far, it's been going well. Products are still being sold, still getting customers, still making sales. On the first tool, which was released in mid-January, which is the 3D radar builder tool, which allows for game developers to create holographic radar tracking system, which can use to re-simulate the environment. So, for example, someone could actually take that tool that I made and re-simulate everybody sitting here right now in their game. That's just one, and people really like that one. You have to be responding to customers myself because I'm the only person on the team right now. So last week I had a meeting with Mark Lightman, who I'd spoken to about the situation, and I sent him a short POR for some help that I need in creation of the tool set. So he should be getting back to me on whether or not he can find the persons that I need to help in creation of the rest of the tool.
Okay.
Oh, and also getting a VR headset. I believe it's the HTC Vive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Questions?
All right. Question?
Question. So to what extent are the tools that you're building becoming useful in the game that you're building? Or another way of are you finding new tool ideas based on the game that you're working on?
No, not based on the game that I'm working on right now. The ideas for the tools were already conceptualized long before this.
Okay.
So the big value proposition of tools in general is the fact that you can create without having to write any code whatsoever.
Right.
And that really saves you time and money. So the time it takes you to pay a programmer to create a tracking system, say 1 month paying that person X amount of dollars an hour, or you could actually buy the tool for just a fraction of the cost, and you could do all that work in 1 hour without having to write any code. It's beneficial.
Right, that would be huge. How about, are there any things in the game that we're building now that could be automated or made easier for the team? As in the start of Jamaica Game Project?
Mm-hmm.
Are
the tools that can make the development easier?
Yeah.
There's several tools that are being worked on right now.
Okay.
Tools that are being used to tell linear and non-linear stories, tools that are used to create game design documents and game proposal documents. Essentially use those to plan out the entire game, from concept to business model to game mechanics, all of that. You just do that in-game, in engine.
Sounds like a lot of potential tooling, especially in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's how many? 7 million?
So it's 10 million. So you
10,
have
10 million game developers globally.
All using Unity.
No,
Yes.
7 million,
Majority.
10 million in Unity or 7 million?
10 million in general globally.
Yeah.
Unity with 4.5.
4.5 million. 4.5 people who are Unity, which is basically means probably the very active guys.
Right.
4.5 million on it. So that's the reason why I thought the potential was fairly large. If you could find one tool to sell 100,000 at 100. $100, exactly, very small amount, to make a significant dent, but he has to find that one tool that they actually would like to use. And then learn how, so our biggest issue is actually trying to learn how to market to these guys for it. And so that's one of the things that we're still looking to try to find out is we need, because it's such a specialty area, to find somewhere global in the world who actually has game development platforms and then, or as an accelerator and then tap into that accelerator. That's where the guys for Slovenia comes in to play. And I still have to get back to them to see how they can actually help us. Or in Israel. Israel has also, and I think Montreal, Canada. But they have
model that I saw Webflow, you know Webflow?
No.
Right. There are tooling for web developers, right? The model that they use was they launched a whole platform, the equivalent of Hacker News, you know Hacker News?
No. Work over there.
It doesn't work as well. I have to explain all this. So. Anyway,
there are people who have done that, been able to launch underneath that, to be able
right,
to launch
so
our
Hacker
launch.
News is a forum that's run by Y Combinator, right? So what Webflow did was they started designer news to attract designers because that was the target audience, and then grew that and then launched Webflow, basically, and they were able to market to that entire audience. So I just started thinking, I wonder if there's gamers forum that you could,
Start market.
That's where my customer base really is.
I figure out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, David, I think it's your turn. You're here to give just a few words. David's here to join with us. So I just thought that one thing is just invite David just to let him know. I know that he's been here a few times and spoken to quite a few of the teams. Some of us are actually on the moment, David, so they're actually just listening in. Who can't be here. We actually have about at least 4 or 5 teams that are actually almost always on the web because they're in a remote location. One is definitely remote, is in Barbados. And I think we have 2 in Mandeville, 2, and 1 in Montego Bay. So those guys actually, so that makes about 4, and then they have a couple of others that actually join us. We have at least 5 teams that are almost always never in, but they're actually listening on the web now. So I feel also add a few words about the hot seat.
Okay.
Yes, the hot seat. Yes.
Hi again, everyone. Thanks, Mark, for the invitation. I came earlier because Lysandra heard I was coming and said maybe it's a great opportunity as well to sit in on her sessions to kind of give some feedback on business plans. So I've been familiar with the Startup Jamaica organization and its mission for some time, and over time have individually met entrepreneurs that have come out of the program and have spoken just in no official capacity to them, listening to what the business idea is and kind of trying to offer some advice from someone who has gone through entrepreneurship and now sits on the side of investment capital. So, I like doing that because I'm able to tell you guys when you're coming to look for money from us, these are the types of things we're looking for. Just from this little conversation that just happened in front of me, I realized that there are people in this room that have information and resource knowledge about things that could not necessarily benefit you selling what you sell, but obviously have implication for this gentleman here. And I don't know how often these sessions allow them to interact just about that. I mean, because as you said it, I would want to see, well, is there a computer we could pull up in front of everybody right now and just kind of type in that website or that, that blog, what you mentioned. You didn't know about it, but I don't know the extent of your research on the similar things, but for me, when I'm interested in a topic, like I Google the hell out. Can I say hell? I Google the hell out of it, and I just.
You don't work for the government. I'm the only one who can't. What am I cannot say it sucks. Officially, the government had a memo that was sent to me, so I can't say that. So you don't have to say that.
So I Google the hell out of it, and I was like, I read everything and watch everything that's there, and this gentleman has pointed out something to you that I think would be useful. Even after you read it, you realize, well, this is not really for my type of business or not what I'm interested in. Then you scrap it. But I think that's why this forum is so great, because then things come up I like to say you don't know what you don't know. All the time, you don't know what you don't know. And then when you find out, something new, it's worth a shot to just investigate and see if it's useful to what you're doing. So officially, I don't really have a mandate, not from Mark, not from my company, not personally. I like entrepreneurship. I like to be able to help people who want to actually make a difference in the world by creating employment for themselves and for people, rather than following the mindset of getting a job and it just being beholden to an employer. I have a great job, but I would never say that I'm going to be there for the rest of my life, because I'm just not built that way. And I know most people in here would not be built that way. Otherwise, they would have just gone and taken a job, because you seem to be all qualified in some area or another. So just from a motivational standpoint, I would say that obviously the government and quasi-government agencies have recognized that people like you exist and want to create a platform for you to come together, discuss ideas, troubleshoot, share skill sets, and then create something of value that you could then in turn go and sell or offer your services. And then people like Mark are reaching out to people in industry and financiers, and Branson Center is also doing the same thing, recognizing that we have said, listen, we have money to put to work. It might not be in the form of a grant, that would be more suitable for some of you right now, free money that you don't have to pay back. But it might be some kind of, loan concept that I say, listen, I'm willing to take a chance on you, but it's not even my money. It's other people's money, and that money has a cost. So once we figure out how we can cover the cost of that money, then we're willing to work with you to make the product viable and have a revenue that is sustainable and consistent. So what I've said to some of the people in here that I've had conversations with, either in person or over the phone, is if you tell me what is the smallest amount of money you think you need, I'm not the big picture funder there. That's why in the commercial landscape, you have a manufacturer who sells to a distributor, who sells to a wholesaler, that sells to a retailer, that sells to the consumer. You notice how many layers of people are in there, and at each stage, somebody's making a different kind of return on their money. So I am not the one that is going to distribute across the island. I'm not that person. I'm just the one that says, okay, what's the smallest amount of money you need to make something that you can sell to somebody else who can maybe sell it or use it, and then other people fit in to help. It's that ecosystem. Other people fit in to help you scale. So what I've consistently heard, and this is just broad based, I've explained my position and where I fit in the market, but I'm still getting the big picture. I'm still being told that $2 million opportunity. I'm still being told the $200 million opportunity. I'm still being told that big thing. And automatically, I know I can't fund the $200 million opportunity, unfortunately. But I can fund the $20 million opportunity. I can fund something that you can see within a year, or a year and a half to 2 years. Jamaica. I mean, we're in Jamaica. We're in Jamaica. And $20 million is still. I mean, it's still.
That's good money. I'm not saying.
Yeah, I'm being clear that. I'm being clear that you should shoot for the $200 million opportunity, and they are there and available for achieving. But when you're trying to get from one stage to the next, it's like you graduate from UA, you have a good degree, you can get a nice job in a bank and make $2 million a year. You can't buy the house in Cherry Gardens. But in 10 years, can you? Probably. But you're going to say, well, I want to buy a house. So I either going to look to Delaney Park or Portmore or Mona or whatever and buy the house that I can buy today. But it don't mean that you're not aiming for the house in Cherry Gardens or Jacksonville, right? So I'm just saying, when you're going to talk to the mortgage officer, you're not going to the mortgage officer to say, I want the house in Cherry Gardens or Jacksonville. You're talking about the house in Portmore or Mona. And I'm not suggesting that it's any less significant to you or any less valuable. I'm just saying that when you are setting those life goals personally, you know how to set up the conversation to the person that you need the money from. Now, not everybody wants to hear that in 10 years I can afford the cherry God's house because I can't help you now for that. I don't know if I'm coming. I don't know how I'm coming across.
What is your mandate? It says private equity, but your private equity, and so, but where you're at, what I would consider, I mean, we're at the stage of seed capital, and one day we'll actually, when these guys graduate, maybe an A round, maybe.
Yes. Okay. So I started by saying I really don't have a mandate. I don't. My company doesn't say go out there and this is what we're looking for because we are still fairly new to the landscape.
Okay.
Which company?
This is Grace Kennedy. GK Capital. Yeah, GK Capital launched a company. Grace Kennedy launched a company called GK Capital that is operating in the private equity space. Now, normally private equity is looking for private equity means you're investing in established companies with actual investable assets, cash flow, something that you can put a valuation on definitively, even if you use one of 3 or 4 or 5 valuation methods. Startup Jamaica is trying to help people create a product or a service into a scalable business that you might have questions around valuation today. So I don't know if I am able to invest in anything that comes out of Startup Jamaica, but just because of the nature of my job and the resources that I have, you can get advice and free information and possibly some amount of consideration for an investment in the form of a, let's say, convertible loan at this stage that could help you go to know an investor that is more suitable for your type of business. So this is a good step from where we're coming from, where nobody like us existed, and the only people that you could talk to potentially is the big banks. So you have ANS, NCB, and they're just not set up to necessarily have a conversation with you until you come to show them what's your collateral and how much money can you pay back on a monthly basis. We are David Lee, within GK Capital, have purposely been trying to position myself within this early stage landscape to help you develop something that could go to the bank later, and using a portfolio method, intend at some point to make an investment in a group of companies, not a startup robot, not a what is it? Steven, go to it. Yeah, I don't know if we are at the point where we can make one-off, one-time investment. So I would probably say Startup Jamaica, I'm going to set aside $20 million. And of that $20 million, I want at least 5 to 10 investments by the end of 2016. And then similar to what Branson is doing over there, and getting everybody together to pitch, and then we choose the best, and then we say, okay, everybody gets $1.52 million, and this is everybody gets the same deal. This is what I'm looking for. It's not my money, it's Grace Kennedy's or their investors' money, and this is how we're going to show them that, okay, we're doing something good by investing in early stage companies, but worst case, you're going to earn what you would earn on your money in a money market situation. Because, this is not Silicon Valley. Unfortunately, it's not Silicon Valley where people just write checks indefinitely, whether, not knowing if they'll ever get the money back. We hope to get to that point one day, but until we're at that point, we kind of just have to tailor our opportunities accordingly. Now, that's not to say you would never find yourself in a situation where a wealthy person, wealthy businessman, wealthy individual, wealthy company would say, okay, I'm just feeling generous and here's some money for everybody to go do what they're doing, and you never have to pay it back. But coming into this scenario, I get a lot of questions around what we would be willing to do, and I just want to make it clear that it's not a grant, it's not necessarily a outright equity investment, but it would be something that helps to get you to another stage where you can be an investable company. And so everybody here is definitely pursuing some large scale opportunities. That's the whole point of Startup Jamaica. Go after something scalable but you know, maybe some people may be interested in what we have to offer, or maybe not. Either way, we're available, and we want to see people keep trying. You know, we want to see more people having an idea and deciding to take the chance of either quitting a job or spending significant time building on that idea into a business opportunity. Don't know if anybody has any
So
specific.
do you have, you say the advice and so on, because you advise people, or it's just within a certain
So
area?
our business, actual core business, is investment banking and financial services such as stockbroking. So on the investment banking side, I can say that in the last 12 months, we have worked on large corporate transactions such as the sale of hardware and lumber, which became a privatization or a delisting from the stock exchange. We just recently closed the sale of the gas station network Uniped to Johnson's, which is not public. I can say the public ones. And we're working on some other large, I mean, 20 million US dollar at a time transactions. And that's, our clients are the people either buying or selling. I'm trying to spend 10% of my time doing stuff that I'm not earning anything from, but you know, at least allows people like you to have access to the type of information that corporations pay for. They pay us millions of dollars to do these things for them, and you probably couldn't afford the advice. But again, saying this is what we exist to do. So let's not be like a cap markets that is not going to even give you a 1 hour meeting. So I'm not saying that it's just come check me anytime. I am saying that through Mark making an invitation like this, I certainly make myself available, and you know, Branson Center is doing the same thing, and the Technology Center at UTech is doing the same thing, and hopefully there will be more people like me working within the industry that can say, listen, we know what the large companies are doing, and this is how you should position yourself as a small entity, hoping one day to get large.
We spoke about convertible loans. Is it with the intent that you want to list on the local stock exchange?
So not every company is going to not every company is going to be an ideal candidate for listing. It's just, you know, it's the way of the world. You either right for an IPO or you're not, depending on the nature of your business, the type of competition in the market, how many other companies are listed, and how have they performed as a listed company.
Right.
Some companies do much better when they stay private. Facebook stayed private for a very long time for that reason. Uber is still private. You know, they are going to be worth 63 billion US dollars, and they're still a private company. So IPO is one option of an exit or capital raising. So again, we don't go into it to say, okay, the plan has to be an IPO, but a convertible loan situation allows you to get some money, give an investor some comfort about at least a minimum return, and then say in 2 to 3 years after you've developed your business into something that can either A, be sold outright, B, be listed on the stock market, or C, be refinanced in some other method. You can give us the option to say, okay, we want our money back now and move on to somebody else who's at the stage you were at 2 years ago. Or yeah, we love it so much that we'll just take equity, don't pay us back, we'll ride it out for the future.
Okay, that's how the convertible is. It like an option?
Yeah, the convertible note is usually at the option of the creditor.
So it's a loan with basically an option attached to convert if you want to convert.
And it's not a loan that has a monthly payment requirement.
Yeah.
It's literally just saying, if I give you money for 2 years, I want to earn at least what I would earn in the bank at the very least.
You'll find that most early seed funding is actually done on a convertible loan basis. That is industry standard. I hate those kinds, but that is industry standard. I prefer the clean equity. Just put in the equity because it's equity. You're not going to get the money back anyway.
But what happens with equity as well as an early company? You give up what you don't necessarily have to give up, right? Because you start guessing your valuation based on your traction. All right, for the last 12 months I've done, you know, X amount of business. But you said that you finally got a payment from CXC. Sure, that's nothing compared to what CXC could be paying in 3 years. But if you took an equity investment today, you'd have to value it on what you earn from CXC today. Now, I wouldn't even encourage you to do that because then you're giving up more for less. And if you wait 3 years and say, okay, guess what? CFC is now paying me 200,000 US dollars a year and that's one customer.
Right.
Then your valuation just skyrocketed, and you can say, all right, I'll pay you back the money that you lent me. Or if you want to convert, you only get 2% of my company.
Right.
So I think it's better even for the entrepreneur to go that route than selling equity in the first stage. But again, that's just, that's from where I sit. It could mean different things for different people, once you see the opportunity.
But even a convertible option that would have a price at which you would convert at. So
Yeah.
you're literally, when you're doing there, it's a built-in option. The reason why a lot of firms do it that way is that they actually have first right on anything that's left in a company that's worth zero. That's the theory behind it. That's why you'll find virtually, I would say probably about 90% of the money you originally get coming in will be on convertible loan, coming in versus on equity in early stage financing. It's very rare. Most of the companies, when I do it, I try to actually have them try to get the guys to do equity, because my opinion on the other version is that 99% of the time, this convertible loan is going to be worth either zero or actually have value. So you might as well take equity from the beginning. Startup Jamaica, I'm going to be trying to convince the government when we actually take in return for your funding. And by the way, I still hear that our registration is still on its way, going to be done one day. That we will be, my thing would be to be taking an option. I don't want any equity because I don't have to worry about on your shareholder register. I'll have an option that's there, and if you're actually worth something one day, then we'll actually take the option at that point in time. The truth of the matter is that traditional VC model is 50% of you guys will be worth zero within like less than a year. Under that, the next 4 companies will be worth a bit, and then there will be one guy who will be worth something that's worth something, and we don't know what that something is worth. And then 1 out of every 500 companies will be worth something really a lot. So if I do 30 companies a year here in Startup Jamaica, it would take me 20 years for that one company to probably be that worth something that a lot. That's the true odds of what we're actually dealing with here. I'm hoping by what we're doing, which is to do the best, to get the best guys. That's why Wire is important. We're going to get the best training possible with you guys. We're going to try to be doing the recruiting to get the best entrepreneurs to come in. We're going to have our mentor program. We're going to be affiliated with BYU, which is the second best educator for entrepreneurs in the U.S. to bring their program in. So by trying to get the best of the best, we're going to try to overcome those odds that are against us. But I'd actually take 1 out of every 10 that you guys actually, my goal is for 1 out of every 10 of you guys to actually reach $2 million in 3 years' time. And so that's where if we come back to that $2 million goal again on there. But I'm realistic, only 1 out of every 10 of you guys will actually reach that probability. And more than likely it will be a company that's a B2B. And that's why DevLabs likes B2B, despite the fact that there are issues with DevLabs. DevLabs has the right idea that B2B are the most likely to be successful in software development and to reach some kind of goal. So onto that.
Any other questions for me?
What typically are you looking for, or does someone willing to do a convertible loan or equity looking to hear expenses, covering expenses for? How much does it cost that? Let's say $20 million. How is that best?
Well,
or 10?
I'm very realistic about the fact that an entrepreneur needs to live. You need to live. You can't focus on your business and actually generate something, be productive and generate something of value if you spend half of your time trying to figure out how you buy lunch or how you pay the rent or mortgage this month, right? So I'm comfortable seeing that, okay, I just need some money to cover my basic living expenses for the next 12 months while I work on this project. and my team is 3 strong, and so the 3 of us are willing to work for, might be significantly reduced to what you're actually worth out in the marketplace. Let's say you could earn 200,000 a month in a job, but you're willing to work for $80,000 a month just because that's what covers you. I'm cool with seeing that. And then I say, all right, well, we can't work with tools that are outdated and not, up to standard. You can't build a brand new website with 5-year-old, software. And I understand those things. So cost of tools to produce what you think will become valuable. And then, basic things related to keeping proper keeping proper business accounts and things like that. I'm okay seeing a fee for an accountant to do your things because I'm not expecting an IT person to be able to know, go and learn how to prepare, accounts and those things. So I'm okay seeing some things that I know a typical small business entrepreneur, maybe pre-revenue or some revenue is going to be required. But again, just to go from phase 1 to phase 2 requires some kind of cost, and somebody has to bear that cost. It's either going to be you from savings or tapping into your personal network of friends and family or some other side hustle that you have, which then distracts you from doing what it is that you want to actually do. Or it's someone like me that says, okay, I believe what you're working towards will become valuable and you will hit the target that you plan to hit in 12 to 18 months. So therefore, I'm willing to fund that. That's where I kind of get out of sync with the $200 million opportunity versus the $20 million opportunity. Because I'm like, okay, I understand that the 200 million will come, but in 5 years maybe. I'm not guaranteeing I'll be around in 5 years, but you say I can make back the money you've given me plus create sustainable income for myself beyond year 2, then I'm more willing to have that conversation. So again, I always like to know what the big picture is going to be, but based on where I sit at the table in the realm of finance, I'm not the guy that can wait 5 to 10 years for you to achieve that goal. There may be people that come here or that Mark introduced you to that are. So again, tailor your presentation to those people. It is, I'm not telling you take short-term solutions when you have someone offering a long-term solution. Definitely don't do that. Just saying, everybody's case is going to be different, and that's why, even unsolicited, I'm willing to have these conversations. I can tell you, it's sat on the phone for about 2 hours, and that was kind of just very random. And I think it will just help you to really develop something. If you really know who you're pitching it to, everybody is not the same and doesn't have the same kind of requirements or needs, but everybody may be willing to help. Once you identify the tier of people that you're talking to, then you could stand a better chance of hearing yes more than no, or getting one less no.
I think it's very interesting. So I was, while in Toronto, I actually went over to Waterloo, Kitchener-Waterloo, because we're trying to negotiate with Communitech also to have that as a soft landing spot for you guys. But because they're offered by the government of Canada, anyone who's coming in from outside of Canada has to pay. So I'm actually asking the Canadian government to see if they will actually, here in Jamaica, they will somehow be able to sponsor the teams so that they actually would waive that fee, because it's $5,000 for 3 months to have the soft landing there. But what was interesting about this is Waterloo actually graduates 1,100 startups a year come out of Waterloo, which has the second highest density to Silicon Valley at a factor of 2. Silicon Valley is 2.2. Early stage funding per startup in Silicon Valley is $500,000. What do you think is the average early stage funding for the Waterloo companies? Any guess? Any other guesses? 1550. 120. So the average is $45,000. Vancouver 70, Toronto 70, New York, Boston, LA 360. So that gives you an idea about where you stand in terms of getting some amount of money for early stage funding, which basically means in your first year of operation. Okay, so I just wanted, that was a shocker to me actually when I saw that number, because I would have thought that Waterloo. So Waterloo's the home of BlackBerry. They have a company that will actually have the sale. One of those guys come down here. They actually sell to Digicel. I met him on the plane. He said he'll come in. Their sales guy from there called Sandvine. 650 employees. So they have companies like that. They have the University of Waterloo, which is probably many believe the best engineering school in the world. That's their average coming out, $45,000 for the average startup company that's actually there. That's being familiar with. Some other interesting stats, and you guys can actually look to see this. By the way, Tel Aviv graduates 3,650 startup companies around the world. Tel Aviv is ranked as the 5th leading ecosystem in the world. Waterloo, by the way, is at 25, and that's actually by the criteria, not by the number of startups, but some other criteria and what they're actually using. People who sell overseas, so when you're in a small country like Israel, you actually have to have customers foreign. 74% of them sell overseas underneath that. So those are some just interesting stats. I'll just put that around here. It's a Compass report. You guys can take a look at it.
It's good that the statistics is available, because I don't think anybody could argue then that if Waterloo as a city within a developed nation is averaging 45,000, Jamaica with a startup community that is not as sophisticated as that, even half of that money, 25, would be reasonable. And I think that's what I mentioned. I said 10 people got $2 million from it. That would be within reason. So I think the mindset is there with the people that are coming to the market. The Development Bank of Jamaica is spearheading the effort to create more incentive for people like us to exist, because again, in the US and places that are developed, you're incentivized to lose money because you get to write it off from your taxes. So you could go and fund your someone like you with $20,000-$30,000 and hope that they do well and make some money back for you. But guess what? If you lose it, you're like, great, I get to write it off of my taxes. That does not exist in Jamaica. And those
I didn't know that. That is true.
Yes. So these are things.
Wow, I thought that was a logical principle everywhere in the world, but except for Jamaica.
No, it does not exist in Jamaica.
But you have on the other side though, Jamaica is one of the few places in the world where your capital gain actually is not taxed.
Yeah.
Unless is that true also for a financial institution, or is it also
No,
taxed?
so there's a asset tax in Jamaica, and then depending on the nature of your business, your asset could be investments or it could be money. So there is something, or it could be hard assets like real estate. So there are some little things that are peculiar to the Jamaican tax environment that would not even incentivize more people to go out there and try it. And that's what the DBJ is doing through the venture capital program. It's to go and liaise with government and the tax authorities and to listen. People want to do this because ultimately the benefit will be greater for the economy if more people start businesses and create jobs. But I really have no incentive to the company I work for really has no incentive to do this other than, boy, it's Grace Kennedy and we feel good about doing things for Jamaica, even if it's not going to make us any money. And you're not going to find a lot of people taking that approach, right?
Corporate social responsibility under basically being done. So no, that would be fantastic. So hopefully we can find a way of actually getting you incentivized to actually take that $20,000 risk.
And I mean, again, it's there. We've been discussing it. Some of you would have seen us active in venture capital program and coming to these entrepreneurship programs.
How far are we from that?
Well, Mark and I haven't had a chance to actually talk yet because he was
talking
traveling.
about the 20,000.
Oh, the DBJ is actively pursuing their program. They expect to be at their goal is to create all of these synergies and the ecosystem and deal with the government entities and hand over to the private sector within 5 years. So let's call it a 2020 vision that within 5 years, the entire system will be working in such a way where the DBJ no longer even has to be involved. It's people like GK Capital, NCB, BNS. Those people now are actively managing and pushing the venture capital private equity space because all the governmental things have been taken care of.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? This has been a good discussion, so thank you, David.
You're welcome.
On there, hopefully we'll actually be back. Oh, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Not necessarily a question. I don't know if it's the update session, but I wanted to know if I could update everybody here on behalf of the farm.
Yeah.
Or Apply 3D.
Yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead. He sent it in there. Gafar's online. Gafar is in Montego Bay, actually. So that's one team.
My name is Patrick Meeton. I'm a new member on Gafar's team.
Okay.
I'm also working with the game development project with Adventures of Fun Rushmere.
Yeah.
I am an illustrator.
Welcome aboard the SUJ family.
Thank you. What it is that recently happened, I believe over this weekend, for the Apply 3D company or business that Gafar is starting up, is that he recently spoke to a manufacturer that will be able to supply will be able to supply facilities and the materials in order to begin prototyping, building his own 3D printers. So at the moment, we have some concepts.
That is fantastic. So you got somebody to actually finance the building a prototype of a 3D, this version of a 3D printer.
Yeah. So
they'll
supply the facility, they will supply the materials, and the team will actually have an opportunity to work with the facility.
Wow,
prototyping
that's major. Fantastic. That is fantastic. Here in Mobe. But it is in Jamaica.
Yes.
Because Gafar's vision, despite my misgivings about manufacturing in Jamaica a 3D printer, is that he wants to do it here. So he actually will build this prototype here. We'll see. So the first part he has to deal with, actually, he gave me a call yesterday, was to deal with customs in Jamaica, who they sent his materials in, and then of course there is this huge bill for duty to coming in to manufacture for his manufacturing of his prototype. So that's something the Jamaican government actually has to, be able to do something about. To bring in a prototype, you have to pay this huge duty, even though one day you're probably going to be exporting it. So that's his first welcome home to reality about manufacturing in Jamaica. But that's fantastic. Glad to hear that has actually occurred. All right. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Great. Okay, stop. Bye.